Hi, welcome to Positively Sparking, a podcast on internet marketing, online productivity and business. Today I'm with Neil Henry, Director at Positive Sparks, and we're going to discuss 3 things that we believe can really enhance your web marketing right now. We're going to look at LinkedIn sponsored emails, a new offering from LinkedIn advertising. We're going to look at mobile SEO and why it's really important for you to have a mobile SEO and web design strategy. And finally, we're going to look at how and why we should customize analytics in today's world to give us better information to react to and enhance our web marketing overall. So hey Neil, how are you?
Good afternoon, Phil. I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. We're going to go through 3 things today. I'm going to talk about the new LinkedIn emails and the customization of analytics to match your business. And Neil's got a big topic in mobile SEO that he's going to go through. So Neil, have you heard about these new LinkedIn emails and the sponsored version of what they are?
Yep, the ability to go, correct me if I'm wrong, the ability to, well, certainly I know a lot about LinkedIn emails, where you can target directly certain people by demographic, by job title, by role, company sizes, and then you can send an email directly within LinkedIn to these people that targets them with a specific call to action email, direct link to a landing page or whatever your offer may be. So they seem quite groundbreaking to me, because what you can do is you can build a database of valid, genuinely interested people based on who in LinkedIn has a profile that's going to be relevant to your business.
Bang on, Neil. That was a beautiful explanation, eloquent and articulate.
Just, I suppose, sponsored posts. Now you tell me a little bit more about these. I think they are where you have where you see in your newsfeed, in my newsfeed on LinkedIn, I would see say something directing me to a blog post, to a white paper, to something where somebody has targeted me in my specific role, my level of business, with a piece of content that is relevant to me that then I navigate off LinkedIn to go and read, share, like, or deal with in some way, engage with.
100%. That's exactly it. So you summarized the 2 options there really, really well. So sponsored posts on LinkedIn are very similar to the kind of ads we might run on Facebook, where we're sending them into people's newsfeed and people can see them there. We target them in the way that you described through demographic, job title, industry, even LinkedIn group, which can be quite powerful. And they click away to a landing page or a piece of content that we're trying to push. Probably, I've just been to a networking meeting today, and people actually complain a lot about the LinkedIn newsfeed, about how not many people who use LinkedIn find it that relevant. And this is perhaps why they developed the LinkedIn sponsored email, because most businesses, when they're using LinkedIn, will try and connect with people and then send them a direct message through the email to introduce themselves and what they do. I find that every week. Do you notice that, where you log into LinkedIn and you got 3 or 4 messages from people from all over the world?
Yeah, all sorts of different people in various industries, usually in some kind of marketing or outsourcing service, trying to sell their own services. Yeah. So I would have thought my instant reaction to that is I would be very skeptical. You know, it's going to be really difficult to get my attention. So it really has to be relevant within that text of that email for me to go and then remotely think about clicking a link to go forward.
100%. And that's really where our 2 kind of disciplines of copywriting, really good copywriting, and targeting our audience appropriately come into play. So I got one yesterday, which is quite clever, because what it had done, it had targeted me as a member of a Cornish networking group. And the person who wrote it had noted that we'd met probably very briefly at a meeting. So the email introduced itself as being, this person from this company, and we met at this particular event. So that was really clever, because it kind of combined meeting in person with a sponsored email. Way more likely to be opened, I would think.
Yeah, that's personable then, isn't it?
It is. And then another one I had this week was introducing a new piece of software that was directly similar to some of the tools we use for pay-per-click, AdWords particularly. Yeah. So that was quite well targeted, because I did open that and have a look, offered a free trial and offered some new features that we don't find on many tools that we use already. So you're bang on right. It has to be relevant. It has to have something that entices us to click. And all that comes down to really thinking about who we're trying to approach, and maybe looking at our website and seeing what content we already have that's had the best response, and basing an email off that, perhaps.
The message that you're sending to someone and the offer that you're enticing them with.
Absolutely, which is the theory behind all advertising.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I know it's a very generic statement, but I'm thinking when you look at LinkedIn, it's a real classic case of it's a chicken and egg situation. Loads of people, certainly LinkedIn when they started, just wanted people to hoard connections. So anybody that's got 500 plus connections kind of gets a little bit of kudos. But it's all kind of just fluff and fanfare, really, because then all you're doing is you're feeding your news feed with random posts from people all over, wherever they may be. And 99% of them are not relevant, which means the 1% there are quickly getting avalanched and off the screen by anything that isn't. So
you're so right.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think that's why lots of businesses find the LinkedIn newsfeed is just not even worth looking at. Because it's a bit like looking at Twitter. It populates almost every few seconds. Kevin, who's been on the podcast, the CEO at Cornwall Business Forum, has 6,000 connections and above. So you can imagine what his LinkedIn feed is like.
Yeah.
It just populates all the time. So for him, the way he's got to those many connections is through the emails and making connections with people directly. So for him, the sponsored email kind of would eliminate part of the work he has to do, is to reach out and say, hey, I'd like to be connected. We've done business in the past, or those different things that LinkedIn offers you. There's a reason why you're making a reach out to someone. So the sponsored email actually takes us one step further, quicker. The costs are quite good too. We've done a couple of campaigns already for some of our clients, and the rough cost to send a LinkedIn email is around about 30 to 40 pence per send. So whatever size of business you are, you can put together a really good targeted list and send a message to them. If we go and compare that to buying in an email database and then sending it through MailChimp or the equivalent once we've cleaned that list, it's actually a really good option that goes up there against the way we're doing email marketing traditionally. When we get emails from MailChimp and similar software, they often get filtered. They go straight into a sponsored part of our email system, and they sit there until we notice them. But LinkedIn emails are different. They come into our awareness as soon as we're logged into LinkedIn itself. So they're probably a little bit more viewable as well. When you were talking about sponsored posts before, one kind of combination that can work quite well is to promote content via sponsored posts and then do LinkedIn emails. So the people who do see your content in their newsfeed are then a little bit more likely to acknowledge your email as well, because they've encountered you before in some way. So that combo can be quite interesting too. So there we go. If you want to check out LinkedIn emails, just Google that. You can go into the LinkedIn site. There's all kinds of information. They're pushing it out now. And I think it'll do well in 2017. So Neil, tell us all about mobile SEO.
Okay. So I suppose the first things for anybody listening to this podcast is, the first thing to do, I would say, is go and have a search in Google for Google Rank Brain. And if you do that, you'll do a search for news that is pretty much saying that in the next few months, and it is being tested as we speak, Google is going to go to primarily, their algorithm is going to be primarily based on mobile search results, because mobile devices have become more popular for searching on any kind of Google platform than desktop type search results. So because of that, we are 100% entering a mobile first era. And so with that in mind, everything that happens with your web marketing strategy, with the web assets you have, with your website, we'll talk about keywords, but certainly keywords are to a lesser extent important, and I will explain why in a few minutes. But certainly anything to do with your web presence now, you need to be looking at making it mobile responsive is a no-brainer. but even the strategy you use should be looking at the way that Google is manipulating results now, because their algorithms are going 100% towards mobile, and they are going to diminish the desktop elements. And I know that won't make sense to a lot of people, so we'll explain that as we go through the next 10 minutes or so.
Interesting times, isn't it? I mean, that's a big shift, moving all the SEO kind of algorithm more towards a mobile focus.
Yeah.
How do you think that will go on and change website design?
Well, there's there's three major shifts that have happened that have affected web design and the way that search results and search engines affect web design. The first one being when Google brought out the Panda algorithm, and everything became all about reputation of your brand and your business. And the reputation Google had for that business or that website or that company meant that your rankings either went through the roof or hit the floor because of the Google Panda algorithm back about 4 years ago. Then they went to local SEO when they started to bring out Google My Places, Google Business, and localized SEO became far more important because they started to realize that people wanted specific local requirements, had some specific questions for local SEO. And now with this, the shift towards mobile devices, completely changing the game for how people interact online. And it's now all about, most of the time, or at least 75% of the time, they say the statistic is that people are doing a search query on mobile. Because of that, you really need to look hard at how your web structure, your website is designed. Because if you think about how you analyze your website, or people have built websites in the past, even to this day building websites are built with the desktop in mind. People build websites using desktops. So they only then go and look as the B test to the A of the desktop. The B test would be the mobile. That needs to be completely flipped round, and we need to be making a website responsive for mobile. Now, I've said that a lot of times in the last few months on the podcast, but if you think about, or if you look at two things, I've got two little tips here that would help you on any website that you have. So for your website, if you go onto any web page, right click on that web page, and then you will see on the menu, inspect. So you can inspect the elements of that web page. So right click, inspect, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, you will see a little icon that's got a desktop little icon and a mobile icon. If you toggle between those two, you can then see how your website looks on desktop versus mobile and vice versa. Once you do that, really look hard at how your mobile version looks, and then think about the types of people that are coming to that site and the messages on that site. And if you're seeing on that mobile version a wall of text, then you really need to look hard at how your images are formatting. What kind of keywords are there in full view for people to see? And if the call to action buttons, email address, phone number can be seen and are relevant and in the right places. So I would definitely say the first thing is go and have a look at inspecting the element of your website. Look at the mobile version and see if that hits home true to the audience you're looking at. The second point, I suppose, which is obvious, is to go onto any mobile device. I go on an iPad mini or on my smartphone and look at the types of search that you can do for your kind of industry, for your business, whether it's someone wanting to buy shoes, books, look for certain steel grades, whatever it may be, however diverse. Look at the types of searches that you can see on a mobile device and just look how much real estate on that screen is taken up by paid ads. Because paid ads take up the top at least half, 2/3. Then what you will see is a map. Then what you will see is potentially organic. You really need to make sure those first two organic results are bang on what you are asking people to see, because otherwise on a mobile device, there is no way they're going to be scrolling to page 2, 3, 4.
Interesting stuff. So all those changes you've mentioned there, and particularly that last one about what can you type in and what can you search for relevant to what you do. How does all of this change keyword research and what we used to do in SEO to find those keyword phrases to target?
Well, primarily it's about targeting. I suppose the most interesting stat on that is that nowadays they say that mobile keywords and mobile searched keywords, 20% of that traffic is made up by voice search, and another 60% of that is made up by question style queries. Okay, so people are on voice and they are speaking personally what they want from the search. Okay, that's 20%. That's quite a big number for something that's not been around, I would say, more than 18 months. Voice search, that's a savvy, good voice search. And then 60% that is question based. So the most important thing when you're doing keyword research is you have to look at the types of questions people would be asking, because it's no longer possible to get traffic generated for your site from very generic, very short tail keyword phrases. So we can think about very competitive industries like buy Converse trainers. Of course, that's not going to get your kind of traffic visibility unless you're a major brand, certainly Converse. However, if you've got localized SEO for that, buy Converse trainers in Stoke or wherever, or local plasterer in Stockport, all of a sudden you're getting keyword traffic that's relevant to people who are more and more searching on mobile for very personable, very urgent, real-time intents. And I think that's the key thing with keyword research. It has to be about the intent of the person and the question style that they are going to be looking for, because it's very much on demand, real time, that query that they've got. So because of that, your keyword research should be question oriented at all times.
Interesting thing, the growth of voice search, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you expect that to grow more and more over the next year or two?
Yes, I would, because if it's gone 20% in the last 18 months, and I think it's gone up about 15% in the last 6 months, to you and I, we would know that the technology behind it is getting more and more savvy. So if the technology is getting savvy, like Apple's voice recognition is, and I know Android is the same, if you think about how voice search works, those kind of question styles, it is easier to say those kind of queries, or to ask those kind of queries of a search engine, than it actually is to type it in. So it makes sense that those kind of styles of queries are going to become more successful, which means Google knows that it has to embrace them because people are speaking them and potentially needing to use them more and more. And as mobile becomes more and more affluent, that's where it's going to go.
It's kind of, initially you would think that when we talk about mobile research on a mobile, or keyword research on a mobile, that the searches would be shorter. But you're making a great point about voice search, where we speak to our phone like we do a person, and then that's kind of recognized and put into Google as a longer tail keyword search.
Yeah.
So it does become, as you say, more question-based, longer phrases.
It is, yeah, and I don't know if this is the same for yourself. It's certainly the same for myself and other people that I know. If you were to type in, if I'm on my mobile now and I was to type in just the keyword phrase plasterer or physiotherapist, let's say, I know instantly that's going to then give me results, and it's going to give me results based on local requirements. So instantly in that drop down of Google, what does it think I want to see? You then get lots of question options, lots of options for search results based on the types of questions it thinks you're asking. So it is becoming very, very savvy, this is Google, to the way that we are searching. So you make a good point there, Phil. You might put in a very short tail keyword phrase like physiotherapist, but instantly Google's going to give me a drop down list of what it thinks I might want. Local physiotherapist, so it's going to then give me a map of Google. Or do I want physiotherapist equipment? And it might give me a link to Amazon and some reputable physiotherapist suppliers. So instantly you're going to get results based on what it thinks you may want to see. And instantly you're no longer short tail, you are long tail.
There we go. So does every industry have a market on mobile?
Does every industry? Okay, let me flip that one round.
So I'm thinking there, for example, we know one of our kind of great clients is a steel company. Mm-hmm. And we know that their kind of customers and their website traffic is a little bit behind some of our more high-tech kind of clients and audiences. So do they have an audience on mobile?
Okay, well, the answer to that to me would be yes. However, the first thing any company should do in this regard is go and have a look at Google Analytics and look at their current traffic sources. And if you've got traction with mobile, people looking at your site, your landing pages, interacting with social media through mobile, then the answer to that would then be yes, you have a mobile market. Have a look on Google Search Console and look at mobile usability. I think these are two really good places to go and look to answer this question specifically without me just saying yes and then answer it as I will in a minute. But Google Analytics will tell you his traffic sources, so you can bona fide see genuine reasons if you do have that kind of audience looking on mobile. Look at Google Search Console at your search analytics to see what kind of queries are coming in, mobile versus desktop, and also look at mobile usability to see what kind of ranking your website gets with Google in terms of a grading as to how mobile responsive it looks. But long story short, yes, in answer to your question, yes, because to me, everybody nowadays in all walks of life is more and more using mobile devices for queries of some description. So let's say a very sturdy type of engineering type of industry, or an industry where people, yes, very much still sit at a desktop in an office, do their work, and that's very much matter of fact. Still, people are using mobile devices more and more because of the ease of use and the rapid response rates that you can get on the types of queries that you're doing via mobile. And I think that's a big shift why Google's making.
Interesting stuff. So for anyone
let me ask you, because I suppose it's a very good point, but I would say everyone uses mobile in some way nowadays because they are so easy to use and all-encompassing. But would you say the answer to that question is no? Some industries don't require mobile?
No, I think you're right, that every industry should, if only because over the next few years as current kind of key people in their market retire, the younger people will be 100% mobile friendly, web friendly, tech friendly. So I think what Google does is it makes big changes to the web based on average trends. So some industries will already be pretty much 80-90% mobile driven. Perhaps travel is one of those. Whereas traditional industries like steel and engineering, as you would say, will take longer just by the nature of what they are. So, but Google will make a change based on the average of where the world is, which is what I think it's doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good point.
So talking about Google averages and going from that great discussion there on mobile SEO, I just wanted to finish off with a little chat about the customization of analytics to match our businesses and why that's going to be a big and growing thing going forward. So you mentioned there, Neil, a good place to look for an indication of how much mobile traffic you do get is in analytics. And almost every company that has a website is aware of what Google Analytics is and either uses it or something very similar. Now, where analytics is great for us is we can see figures, we can see what kind of traffic we're getting, we can see if it's going up or down each month, where it's coming from, and if we customize it enough, what people are doing on there. But where lots of businesses kind of wonder and worry is where they look at things like bounce rate, which is a figure that Google gives based on averages. Another one is where they kind of ask you to state an industry and they'll kind of cross-reference your web traffic with an average for your industry. I don't know if you've seen that feature in analytics. Now, that can be really misleading for businesses because every website is different, every kind of business is different. And now we have the possibility to customize analytics to really reflect what we're trying to do online and what we want our customer to do. So I'm going to go back to bounce rate as a great example of this. Google Analytics will give a bounce to anyone who visits your homepage and then disappears. So off first reference, that sounds like a bounce. But we have more websites nowadays which are either a landing page, so they're very much one page anyway with a call to action, or there are various WordPress themes which literally put all the content into one page and choosing the navigation option sends us down the page. So a bounce rate is maybe not always as accurate as we think. So if you, Neil, had a one-page article on mobile SEO and it was on its own, and lots of people landed on that page and read it all the way down and digested it all and then disappeared, that would be a bounce. But really that person's engaged with the page because they've read it. So where we can customize analytics is to look at what we believe a true bounce is and change it slightly to match our business. So for example, on that kind of notion there of you doing a one-page website mobile SEO, we might tell Google not to count people who scroll down as a bounce, or not to count people who've been on that page for more than 2 minutes as a bounce. And that then gives us a much more accurate figure about what's going on with our traffic. If we then take that same principle and apply it to landing pages where we're looking for people to sign up for something or do a certain action on our page, then we need to customize analytics so it's aware and it's getting the right information to then give us an accurate representation of what's going on that page. And using things like Google Tag Manager, we can customize analytics to reflect what our website and web pages are trying to achieve and to judge the traffic against that rather than the generic averages that Google uses. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And the 2 points I would add on to that is, if you think about the types of pages that you make now for websites, they always have very different reasons. So it's not like you're just creating a website with 5 or 15 pages of different types of content to give people a full flow of what your business does and all the different services or products you sell. Everything needs to be directed for one specific reason on each individual page. With that in mind, as you say, very good example, one-page brochure website, one-page landing page with some offer on it. That absolutely should not have the same bounce rate recognition as a website landing page that is a home page or an about page or even a services page. Those are the kind of pages that, yes, very much so. From a home page, do you want someone to go to another page? That then is relevant if they go from the home page and bounce straight off. But if someone goes from, as you say, an article that at the bottom has a call to action to pick up the phone or email for a free download or come and have a look at this product on another page, then it's a plausible argument that there should be no bounce rate that hammers your results and your rankings because of that.
Exactly it.
Utterly crucial that you customize your analytics, basically, based on the intent of the page.
That's it. And then we get better web marketing information back and we begin to make better choices based on information that is customized for our kind of cause and our web pages rather than looking at averages across the web.
Yeah. And you then show to Google as well that you have valid analytics based on the conscientiousness of how you've built your pages and how you want users to interact with that page. So Google won't give you a black eye for having a bounce rate because the page is relevant to only one call to action, which has no relevance to then going somewhere else online. In terms of conversion tracking, I think it's absolutely priceless.
Absolutely. I even think that I almost doubt nowadays that Google uses bounce rate as an indication of SEO and organic ranking unless it rises. So it doesn't really matter what it is. But if a page suddenly balloons up, then maybe that's an issue. But if you have like an 80% bounce rate on a page which is kind of singly focused, a landing page or an information page, it really doesn't matter because it's really about the content of the page. The fact that we can manipulate bounce rate is one big reason why Google would not use it as an SEO factor.
Just there, because that perfectly wraps to the final thing I would have to say, and I didn't know you were going to say it like that, but this is exactly why I think people should go and have a search for Google Rank Brain, because that will tell you exactly where, in terms of bounce rates, in terms of analytics, in terms of how Google works out what it thinks about certain web page, every web page on the internet. Google Rank Brain will show you that it's all about the intent of the user, not these generic stats that you mentioned so eloquently there.
Great stuff. That's a good spot to end all this on, Neil. Google Rank Brain. Big changes in Google, and you can read all about them there. Great stuff. Thank you very much for today's podcast.
Thank you, Phil. Take care.
My name is Phil Byrne, and I'd like to thank you so much for listening today. I hope you got something really good to take away from this week's episode for you or your business. And you know what? I'd like to give you something more. In fact, I'd like to give you a whole free web marketing pack full of all my latest and best ideas on how you can take your business forward positively online. Download your pack at positivesparks.co.uk/pack, and most of all, guys, look forward to seeing you again next week.